Welcome back, guys. Today I have a very special guest, Ms. Judy K, who is the founder and also the owner of North American Herb and Spice, which is a very well-known vitamin and herb company here in the United States. She has a Master's of Science in Nutrition and is here to talk to us today about her company and her passion for natural health. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. It's a little funny, with this COVID-19 issue, but it's still, it's we're all surviving it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely some crazy times, but what I love is that there's a lot of natural things that we can do for our body to help like boost our immune system.
Absolutely. And that's one of the best things that we can do for ourselves, is take care of ourselves, and it pays off.
Yes, absolutely. So, I wanted to ask you, with your company starting North American Herb and Spice, what was your biggest influence in first turning to all natural remedies?
Well, I was director of nutrition at a cancer hospital. And I would say, I had over 500 different supplements that we used with them. And so I had a captive audience, you might say, of what things really worked and those that didn't. And, it was interesting because I found that the natural things that the people really responded well, and the things that were made synthetically, and the things that were like standardized, and the things like that they didn't respond as well. So that really piqued my interest, because um, it kind of made sense, didn't it, that the body would recognize what God has made, and
Absolutely.
and therefore use it in the best way possible. We have these receptor sites that, when we take in a vitamin or a mineral or whatever, the body knows to send it there. And when it needs it, it needs it. And it will take the synthetic and it will use it if it has to. But, you know, um, it's like, these receptor sites can be confused, and they can be overloaded with the wrong things because the body will, tries its best to keep us going. And it does. It's a miraculous machine. But it it uses what it has to. So we want to give it the very best and the most logical and the correct thing that it can possibly use to keep us healthy. So I
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that was what motivated me to really, I mean, ultimately down the line, then I was able to, um, you know, come up with this company because I saw that there was such a vast need for somebody to focus on using what is real, what is very best for the body.
Yeah, absolutely. My mother had first introduced me to one of your products, oregano. And, she was actually taking it during like the flu season and to help with like, getting colds and stuff like that. She was around a lot of people who were getting sick a lot. And she noticed like this huge difference in the way her body was able to, number one, get over a cold quickly if she didn't catch it in time. And number two, she was actually able to go some years without even having a cold or even the flu. And so I first found out about your products a while ago, and it definitely has made like a huge difference in my life. So, I'm very thankful for them. It's definitely left a big impact on me.
Well, yeah, it's incredible. And the oregano, I am constantly learning new things about it. And, as far as it's the most powerful preventive uh, uh, product I've ever seen in the world, it's, it has helped me through so many things. And, it's an antioxidant besides being very, very beneficial in so many ways. So, We can't really explain all those ways, but
Yeah.
it's but it is absolutely a miraculous thing. I am constantly amazed at what it can do.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, I noticed that you do use the wild Mediterranean oregano oil, the P73, in a lot of your products. Is there any experience or anything that kind of like shaped that decision in putting them in a lot of your products?
Well, it activates a lot of things, and um, it makes it more efficient, and it helps the body to uh, absorb these nutrients, and it works so well with everything, and it helps keep the efficacy high. It also keeps it so that you can use that product for a much longer time than you would otherwise. Shelf life is probably not as good, so that's one of the reasons. And it's just such a great benefit in so many ways that I want to. You just really can't get too much of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like there's just so many amazing benefits, and the fact that you can even use it on your skin, which is amazing because the skin absorbs, all of those nutrients and those, powerful, properties that it has in it as well.
Yes, there was a lady one time, and she was complaining to me about her sore throat, and I said, "Well, why don't you take some oregano?" And she said, "I'm not going to take that nasty stuff." And I love it, but people have their opinions.
Right, right.
So I said, "Well, just rub it on your throat." And so she did. And in about 10 minutes, she was saying, "My throat's not sore anymore." So we don't cure with it, but we just give the body those tools that it needs to do what it needs to do.
Right, to help get it through. Absolutely. So let me ask you now, there's a lot of health food companies and, vitamin companies out there. And, sometimes they just don't stay in business. I noticed that you've been around since 1999. Is there any insight that you can give as to why your company is so successful?
Well, number one, there is uh, I think there's kind of a plan. You know, you have to do the things you love to do. I started cooking when I was 3 years old. By the time I was 12, I was making the meals for the entire family.
Wow.
So it was something that I loved, and I would sit out in the yard and eat sourdough and things like that, and experience it. I watched the bees around the dandelions, and um, they would go to the center of the plant, and so I would pick dandelions and stick my tongue in the very center of it. Well, it's full of riboflavin, and
Hmm.
at that time I was very riboflavin deficient. So you leave it to kids, and not so much today because they're really overwhelmed with all kinds of junk. But um, children have been known to go for the things that really, nourish them properly. So, my grandmother would take us into the wilderness, and she showed us all the plants and things. Sometimes she didn't even know the names, but she sure knew what they were used for.
Right.
And so, I probably that piqued my curiosity. So this was something that I had a passion for and that I love. And so I think that is one of the most important things, that you're doing something that really, makes you alive and happy, and makes you want to wake up in the morning, and do something. And so anything that has pertained to plants and food and whatever has always pretty much excited me. But there's another thing. I love to help people. And so by putting these wonderful things together, these whole wild plants, because the wild
Hmm.
plants, they have the power, um, from the sun, from the minerals in the earth and all of this. And not, they can't be, our when our they started partitioning our food way back in the 40s and what have you,
Right.
to keep the bugs out. That's when our health standards and everything just started slipping badly because all those nutrients were taken out. And so those wild plants, they have to, kind of fight for a living. They're, they don't have the care and protection and everything that, that a garden plant does. And so they have to really fight to stay alive, and therefore they're stronger. It's kind of like us, isn't it? If things are too easy for us, then we don't grow in our character and strength either. So these
Right.
plants, yeah, these plants are just absolutely amazing. And so then I really wanted to help people to, to be better, to be stronger, and to be healthier, because you know the incidence of cancer and diabetes and all of these things just keeps increasing all the time,
Yes.
and we can do something about it, and that's what I wanted to teach people. But they also have to have the products to be able to to use to help maintain perfect health. So that's what I wanted them to have, and and I benefited from it myself, because I'm telling you, these things have. I'm kind of like the Energizer Bunny, I just keep on going.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you have amazing skin, by the way, and I could only
Oh, thank you.
imagine, because of how well you are taking care of yourself with all of these amazing products.
And I'm an old lady.
Well, listen, you had mentioned something about which really interests me, about the riboflavin, and it's I feel almost like, because of all the synthetic ingredients, we've kind of gotten away from actually listening to our bodies. And, I feel like there are more and more people that are turning to natural remedies, because of all of the damage that these synthetic ingredients have done. And, now we're no longer listening to what our bodies need. And we're trying to mask that, mask all these problems by just taking all these synthetic ingredients. And, if we really, really just listen to our bodies and, get back to nature and get back to all of these natural foods, we can see our body work in amazing ways and just tell us what we need and what we don't need.
Oh, absolutely. Um, the natural substances I discovered, like I said, at the hospital, that they work so much better than the synthetic things. And I mean, I kind of had my own study group at that time. I worked with thousands of people, and it was obvious how much better that the natural things work. And it's, for example, right now, a lot of our synthetic vitamins, most of our synthetic vitamins have been made in China. And do you know that they've also found in these synthetic things that they have the COVID 19
Wow.
virus in some of them? So, I mean, that's actually dangerous.
Yes.
And these, so I mean, why not get your vitamin A from like I have a fish oil that we get it from a hand fish source. It took me 16 years to find a source that I really liked for fish oil, and you know um, and it still has the vitamin A and D in it, which most of them don't. Most of them, they have to refine them so much because of the filth that's in our oceans,
Right.
that that there's no vitamin A and D left unless it's added in as a synthetic. Now people don't even know this kind of thing,
Hmm.
and there's so many little details, and that's what made me so angry when I watched some ads on TV about all these synthetic vitamins,
Hmm.
because also people in the hospitals, I was working with these beautiful cancer patients, and they would, I took my vitamins every day. Why am I dying of cancer? This is horrible. I've taken care of myself. And, they're made from petrochemicals.
Right.
And, so if you're, are you going to go suck your gas tank? I mean, come on. Or, eat the pavement off your driveway. I mean, it's not the same, but it is the same, because it's not the real God made wild plants or even the organic plants. And, we sure don't need to ingest pesticides, that's for sure.
Right.
So, I mean, we're challenged in so many ways today. We have, you know, uh, continual radiation exposure from nuclear power plants. We have
Mhm.
our waters are fouled. There's, within just a few miles of us, there's, ethylene dioxide plant. And I mean, there's just all kinds of things in our air, in our water, everywhere that we have to contend with today. So if we don't take care of ourselves in the very best way we possibly can, we will be challenged with various different diseases and illnesses. This is a very precarious time in our existence, I have to tell you.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's getting even harder now that they've, you know, I mean, it's obviously been happening for a while, but with the introduction of GMOs, I actually did a research paper on them, and the plant itself is completely different. Like on the corn plant, like it actually looks different, which
Oh, yeah.
is crazy to me.
Yes. And, even if it's organic, it's in the air, it's
Hmm.
in the water. I mean, how do you have non-GMO plants? This with soy and corn, I've just eliminated them from my world
Yeah.
because, you know, even if they're organic, because
Hmm.
I don't see how they can be not GMO, you
Well,
know?
yeah, there's a lot of cross contamination going on. I mean, it's very hard to control at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I just it actually kind of brought us right into like the next thing that I wanted to talk about was basically, is there a particular thing that you look for in choosing and one like an ingredient to add in your products? And clearly, you're looking for just really good quality natural ingredients, no GMO, organic, and I absolutely love that.
Well, efficacy is number one. It's got to be for somehow to improve the function of the body. That has to be number one. And then sustainability. It's we wonderful wild cherry from wild pin cherries cough spray, and it was absolutely fabulous. But the wild cherries only produce extremely a lot of them about every 7 years. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, getting that source was practically impossible. So, needless to say, with that product, while it was wonderful, everyone loved it. It was, you got to leave some for the animals. And,
Right.
every year there was enough for them, but not for us too. So I just said, well, we'll find something else. So that's one of the ways that, we really carefully um, think about every single thing that we do so that it's beneficial for mankind but also for our animal life as well. So that's a very good question because it does take a lot of care and thinking, and you know um, then you have to also make sure that like with our wild plants, we are very careful about where we're doing our picking. And because pesticides are sprayed everywhere,
Yes.
even in the wilderness they're spraying the ditches and everything. So I mean, we have to go to great extremes to find these things, and then I'm out there picking part of the time, and and it's these wonderful birds will fly up and they'll just flog you. And I said, now look, you get the top ones, I get the bottom ones.
Right.
So it's really amazing how these things function in your body, how good you feel, how productive you can be, how quick your mind is, all of these things when you're using things that really nourish the body. Because our bodies are our transport system, and we really if you're going to take care of your car, you got to take care of your body first.
That makes
And
perfect sense.
yeah, and it's and you want to be the best you can be while you're on this planet, because that's why we're here to improve ourselves, to become everything we possibly can be.
I agree. I totally agree. Now that, you've already, it's kind of like we're flowing very well here. I feel like you're kind of just like flowing right into the next question that I have. Basically, I was going to ask you why your products are so unique in comparison with other natural companies out there, but clearly, I love the fact that you are also looking out for the animals and you're not trying to like, over harvest. I know that there are a lot of companies that don't keep that in mind. And I think that's super important.
Yes, I mean, we share this planet, with a
Right.
lot of creatures. And that's part of the success of the business plan too, is that you have this universal caring. You care for everything around you, because whatever you do, whatever good you do, comes back to you. And it's the way we're blessed. And so the more you do, and the more good you put out there, and the more that you care for this planet. I mean, think about it. You put in a seed in the ground, and what do you get back? Oh my goodness, um, it's incredible.
Right.
So I mean, um, and that's just my philosophy. That's how we have to live. And with these products, they have, before they get past me, they have to be the best in the whole world that I can possibly find,
Right.
and they have to be done in a proper way. It's like I used to use co-packers, and when I first started, there's no way I could have afforded machinery and the whole thing. But because I have such strenuous demands, and because I provide the raw ingredients myself, I didn't, let them come in from pharmaceutical grade, various different stuff. I mean, I'm a pain because I bring in leaves and bark and all kinds of stuff, that they have to mess with, and they don't like that.
Right.
And so over time, I have had to start my own manufacturing. I mean, that was a must, because number one, they would put me off till the very end. I had one order that purchase order that they took them a year to make it. I mean, you're going to be out of business by the time you do, you wait a year for a product. And so anyhow, you know, um, my encapsulation process is totally done by hand. And whereas, in today's world, they do like a million capsules a minute or something. I mean, that's maybe an exaggeration, but it's a lot.
Mass
And what
producing.
I'm
Yeah.
saying, yeah. And so all of mine are encapsulated uh, by, as it's all done by hand, and carefully nowadays.
Yes.
and and it's but it has to be slow, because if you use these really fast means of producing things, then you have to use the magnesium stearate, which is a machine oil, which coats the molecules, which practically makes them indigestible. I mean, why would you put all of that effort into going out into the wilderness and finding all this beautiful, wild, nourishing stuff, and then coat it with something like that that's indigestible? Doesn't make sense to me.
Not at all.
So we go to such extremes to find the perfect things, and then to process them in the perfect way so that they're perfect for the body. So I mean, it's a lot of work and effort, and it takes great dedication to do this, believe me.
Oh, I'm sure. I know it does. The quality of the ingredients that you're using, I'm just extremely impressed. And I've seen like like these pictures of you out, just like picking things out in the country, different countries and stuff, and which actually kind of brings me to my next question. I see that you visited some really great countries in search for some of your wonderful ingredients that you use in your products. And I was wondering if there was a certain country or place that you've been to that left a major impact on you in a positive way.
Well, I've been to 69 countries. Supposed to have gone to my 70th this year, but we didn't
Wow.
get to, because of the situation.
Yes.
But the world is such a beautiful place. It's really a hard thing to, pinpoint one country. But one country that I have done a lot in is Turkey. And it's unglaciated. So that means that the topsoil is so rich. It's never been disturbed by, the wiped off by the glaciers. So their plants are, I mean, it's amazing. I have never seen such beautiful, beautiful plants in my life. And without fertilizer and all this kind of thing, it's just a natural thing.
Hmm.
So there I've worked with the mountain people and the villagers and what have you, and we've been able to um, provide them a life. They're bringing their children back from the crowded cities and the slums and what have you,
Sure.
and they're back to their beautiful villages and mountain towns. And so I mean, this has been a real win-win situation. I've helped them build schools
Hmm.
and to have a decent way of life, because I mean they had a pretty poor life.
Right.
And so we've helped them in so many ways, and they have provided us with these beautiful, wonderful plants that are nourishing people in our own country now. And it's just a beautiful relationship, and that's what we need to do across the world. I think if we, I've been everywhere, and people are just people, and what we
Hmm.
need to do is learn to uh, respect others and their ways of life, and you know and we help them, they help us. And what a concept, isn't that?
Yes, yes, I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's really worked out, and that's what, it's been a wonderful thing.
yeah, absolutely. You were talking about basically what you were doing for the villages and stuff in Turkey, and I've read that you do give back to communities, and I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about some of the other things that your company has done for these communities.
Well, we help out with, I have a tiger sanctuary that I'm helping with. They, when the circuses and everything closed down, they they have over 50 tigers now, and
Oh,
which would have been euthanized if they hadn't been had a place to go.
right.
So I helped them with that, and I love them, and I get to pet them. So it's of course most of my people say, "How on earth do you pet them?" I said, well, "Yes, they're they're lovely."
Yes.
So yeah, and recently we found out that there was an orphanage in Uganda. I'd helped with two schools and wells in Kenya, and then I just helped build a school and helping with the orphanage, 70 kids in Uganda that were really, they were lucky if they got one meal a day.
Wow.
And yeah, sometimes they were down to like one or two meals a week.
Mm,
So now we're helping them. We've built their school. Um, they would have been starving during this time. If we hadn't helped them out. And then, but in our own country, I've provided blankets for the poor during our bitter Chicago winters, and food. And during this COVID thing, I sent into our communities in Chicago that are don't have the funds to buy the nutritional supplements. I sent down masses of oregano down to them to help them with all the issues during this time. And I what I do is I don't I don't really donate to the great big marketing companies that
sure.
represent these big you know charities.
Hmm.
I like to go where it's most needed, and we help people in need on the spot. And uh, and that way it's really exciting to see what you're doing working before your eyes, and that the money is going directly to these people and fulfilling their needs. And so I mean, we during hurricanes and all kinds of things, we've donated supplies and supplements and all kinds of things. So again, we look at any way that we can possibly help. Now with the school, they've actually named it after us, so we're constantly looking to help them in any way we can, and we're also looking to, if people want to donate to them, because it's kind of hard for me to keep up with all of their needs.
Sure.
And so we're, if people wanted to work with us and help them, I'm happy to make sure that their funds get to the people as well. Like one little family, they had uh, the father was killed, and so the mother and her three children were just living in a in a well, it wasn't even a shelter, it was just an abandoned building,
Mm,
and they were starving. So we were able to get them some mattresses and some food and some care. And I think what we can eventually do is have, when this COVID thing is gone, then she can come and work actually in the school and the orphanage, so that she'll have a place to stay.
sure.
So you know, we can't help everybody in the world, but we try to do whatever we can wherever we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, clearly you're making a difference, and I think that's really important. I love the fact that you're working with like smaller, you know, basically like the source of the people in need versus like these major companies where you just don't know where your money is going. I think it's amazing that you do that. But I do want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and also sharing your story. I was wondering, is there any advice that you can share with our listeners that are wanting to make the switch to a more natural lifestyle?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you're saying that, because it kind of depends on where you are
Yes.
in your existence, and and these things have to be done slowly, and they have to become lifestyle changes. It can't be just, for a day or two or whatever. This has to become a lifestyle. And I think of where I started in my life, as a kid,
Right.
and everything we ate was, white flour, white rice, white sugar, white, you know,
Yes.
and it was all, my mother was a fabulous cook. I mean, everything tasted wonderful, but we were nutritional disasters.
Hmm.
And um, I think what you have to do is just start. And today it's easier, because I mean, back then we didn't have the information. Today we're almost an information overload, and you don't know which way to turn. But
Yes. It's one
but the
extreme or the next, you know?
yeah, but it's common sense. One thing is, make sure that what you're putting in your body is, you say, well, I can't afford organic. You know what? Research has shown that the less you eat, the better it is, anyhow.
Hmm.
Um, Not that, I mean, you don't starve yourself for sure, but, um, you know, if you are getting in like at least 1,200 calories of really good, extremely nourishing food, then uh, I know it's supposed to be 2,000 or whatever, but I think we overdo it, because I know all across the world, no, they are not eating 2, 3,000 calories a day. I can
Yes.
promise you.
I agree.
So, and so I think we're overfed, and we're overfat, and we're undernourished. And so if you start changing that, cut back on your food intake, you eat the very best possible that you can possibly do it, you get your exercise and sunshine, and and don't abuse your body with drugs and alcohol, and you know um, the things that will harm you. You just do the good things, and follow the good things in life. You know, get plenty of rest. Research study shows that 8 hours of rest is absolutely necessary. There for a while they were saying 6 or less hours, and that's not true. They're showing diabetes and Alzheimer's and everything increase without when you are not getting deep restful sleep. So, I think it's a common sense thing. And also raise your own food. Goodness,
Yes.
get a little garden going. That's extremely important, and and keep your creator in mind. I think that's a very, very important that we keep that part of our life in full force as well.
Absolutely. Well, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. I really just appreciate just taking the time with me and just sharing your story. And, thank you so much.
Well, I really enjoyed being on with you, and I love uh, helping people in any way I possibly can. And, that's why we're doing things up on our website and, just giving general information and what have you now, so that, you know, people have a resource. And we're going to be doing more and more of that as well. So, um, yeah, that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Well, I'm super excited, Ducey. I know that you're going to be coming out with even more products, so I'm always excited to see the next thing that you have.
Yes, and North American Urban Spice is, I'm really proud of it. And I started in the basement, and we're up to over 50,000 square feet now. And would you know, I didn't even take a loan to do all of this. I just kept putting the money right back into the company and building it.
That's
And yeah.
amazing. And that's the best way to do it. So that's another great piece of advice for all of our listeners, even that are looking at possibly starting a company, to use, to not take out loans, to use your own profits from things that you make. And I love that. I love everything about your whole technique and everything that you're doing here.
Yeah, it's so I just hope everyone just does the very best for themselves in every way they can, and then pass it on to others.
So if you are interested in getting amazing and natural effective products, please head over to NorthAmericanHerbAndSpice.com. Thanks for listening in. Please be sure to check out my Facebook group, Ask Christina, where you can post your questions on topics that you'd like me to cover on one of my episodes.